Welcome to Discover with Dr. Dan, the proactive health podcast, sponsored by Brilliant. Brilliant helps you live a happier, healthier, and more brilliant life by using natural ingredients to formulate products that help to maximize your proactive wellness. Feel it to believe it at feelbrilliant.com. Today we're going to talk about biosignaling mechanisms in the body, their importance in health and wellness, and what we can do to restore breakdowns in biosignaling. The body performs millions of chemical reactions every single second that are vital for all aspects of human health: heart health, bone health, brain health, joint health, kidney health, and so forth. The body is an amazing molecular machine with many moving parts. Our bodies are akin to a high-performance sports car that, if tuned properly, is meant to go 0 to 60 in 2.2 seconds. The body has boundless innate potential, or you might say brilliance, that is locked up and untapped. These carefully orchestrated chemical reactions and the untapped potential of our bodies are controlled by biosignaling mechanisms. The scientific term for these biosignaling pathways are called signal transduction cascades, or STCs. There are a couple of ways to think about the biosignaling mechanisms in our body and how they work. The first is to think about a long string of dominoes. We're all familiar with the concept of dominoes, where you push one over and it causes a cascade or sequence of cascades where subsequent dominoes fall over until it reaches the end target. Biosignaling mechanisms in our body are similar to that, where one molecule talks to another, which talks to another, which talks to another, and then it reaches its final destination where a biological response is initiated. Another way to think about it is a telephone game, right? Where you whisper into one person's ear a message, and then it goes to the next person, the next person, the next person. And the fun thing about that game, is that what comes out at the end is quite different from the beginning. Biosignaling mechanisms are like this. Another way to think about biosignaling mechanisms is the body's like an electrical grid, where signals go back and forth through all the systems of the body. When you think about electrical power, is responsible for all aspects of modern urbanized life. You think of these megacities, right, that have 10, 15 million people in them, and electricity is vital for the health of the city, right? Think about what would happen if the electricity in a megacity went down for long periods of time. Work would stop, lives would be disrupted, the city would be at a standstill. And that's what can happen when the biosignaling mechanisms of our body break down. So both of these analogies help us to see the critical need for maintaining the integrity and the function of biosignaling mechanisms in the body. These biosignaling mechanisms are critical for life as we know it. So let's talk about some lifestyle factors that can severely interrupt the signaling mechanisms in the body. Poor diet is one of the major killers of healthy biosignaling. We know that good food is medicine, and we also know that good food contains small molecules, natural molecules, that improve health via a variety of different pathways. A number of these small molecules in food exert their biological activity by maintaining the integrity of the biosignaling mechanisms in the body. The modern processed diet is devoid of natural compounds from plants that limit the ability of the body to reach its potential, which is mainly by keeping critical biosignaling mechanisms in the body locked up and unavailable for use. So poor diet, huge factor in biosignaling breakdown. Lack of exercise is also a big killer for biosignaling. You eat to be lean, you exercise to be healthy. So during exercise, nitric oxide and other small molecules are produced. Most people think that nitric oxide is a vasodilator. While that is true, recent science has found that the major role of nitric oxide is to be the initial domino in many of these biosignaling cascades that help to maintain all aspects of health, including to increase muscle mass, reduce shear muscle stress, and improve all aspects of cardio health. Shear muscle stress is hugely important to overall health by increasing the load at which our muscles can work. Many biosignaling roads, when it comes to exercise, all essentially lead to the heart. And the heart obviously is one of the most critical organs for life. Lack of sleep is one of the biggest drivers for poor health overall. Incidents of all health factors, both disease state and otherwise, are greatly exacerbated and made worse due to poor sleep. Sleep is so important, it helps to clean the brain. This was published in a paper in Science a few years ago. What they found is that when you sleep, the channels in the brain that help to push toxins and metabolites from the brain working all day are pushed out. And when we don't sleep, these metabolites can build up in the brain and cause damage. So sleep is very important, and when sleep deprivation occurs, it has a negative effect on cognition, bone health, obesity, insulin resistance, workplace performance, neurodegenerative diseases, and inflammation. Insomnia affects 1 in 5 Americans at one time or another during the course of each year, and it's estimated that not sleeping for 11 consecutive days will cause the body to shut down and die. So we've talked about how many biosignaling roads lead to the heart, and this is true for the brain. A huge number of biosignaling mechanisms that are influenced by sleep or lack of sleep lead to the brain and supports its proper function. So neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, help to regulate the processes in the brain, and these small molecules are produced by biosignaling reactions. Stress is not only a killer when it comes to health, but it is also a manifestation that signaling mechanisms to the brain and other areas of the body have been completely cut off. We've all heard of hormones, and specifically the one called cortisol. Cortisol is often referred to as the stress hormone. Cortisol is one of the major compounds produced in the body when good signaling mechanisms stop happening. So it's a good indicator that biosignaling isn't working. One of the mantras in the body is that when good processes like biosignaling reactions aren't happening, then bad processes are going on like gangbusters. So while some people have serious chronic stress conditions, stress affects everyone in all our activities, everyday life at one point in time or another. As we know, when stress has a hold on our bodies, many other systems in the body start to fail, like decreased cognitive function, decreased mood, productivity, mindset, and a drop in natural energy. Anxiety along with stress is a classic hallmark sign that most of the biosignaling reactions in the body have been thrown out of whack, and some have been completely shut down. Those with generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, or other anxiety-based issues have signaling cascades that are completely out of balance, meaning that the electrical circuits have completely gone dark. Mental illnesses like schizophrenia, OCD, ADHD, MDD, bipolar, and others are the result of misregulated signaling mechanisms. Anxiety and mental illness are one of the major plagues of our day that, if present circumstances are any indication, will likely get worse as time goes on. Now, no matter where you live, there are small molecules coming from pollution that can get into our lungs, cause inflammation, slide into our DNA, disrupt biosignaling, and wreak havoc on our health. Most people underestimate the powerful negative impact pollution can have on our lives. This is especially true in the United States, where mask wearing was unheard of before COVID-19. Strategies that address general health of the lungs and not simply increasing airway clearance are severely needed. Regulation of biosignaling pathways related to lung health is an undiscovered area of science and one that is being explored at Brilliant. A factor that significantly impacts human health and degrades our biosignaling is soil depletion. Many studies have shown that the food grown in the soil today contains significantly less medicinal-like compounds than the soil-grown food our parents and certainly our grandparents ate. Many of the medicinal compounds in food are natural regulators of biosignaling. If we're not getting these essential biosignaling compounds from our food, then we need to think about where else we can get them from. And we'll give one answer to this in a bit on this podcast. All told, we see that all of the lifestyle factors plaguing us today degrade the ability of the body to send signals and ensure that the millions of chemical reactions going on in the body every single second happen properly. The next question then is this: because we can't avoid most of these lifestyle factors, what can be done to maintain and even bring back the biosignaling mechanisms in the body? We asked ourselves the same question almost 2 years ago. In asking this question and looking at what else was known in the scientific literature, it was clear that there wasn't a good answer to this question. In our research of traveling around the world and studying compounds in plants, we found that many of the natural compounds in these medicinal plants exert their beneficial properties by regulating the biosignaling or signal transduction cascades in the body. Here are some of the plants and the small molecules within them that we found could regulate these domino-like signaling mechanisms in the human body. Pomegranate has been used in traditional medicine for over 3,000 years and contains over 300 bioactive compounds. Contained within pomegranate are a small class of cool molecules called ellagic acids that we found could regulate signaling pathways in the body in many different aspects of heart health. One thing to point out in general is that the relative amount of biosignaling molecules in these plants and fruits are low. So when you're eating a fresh pomegranate, you're really not getting a lot of the biosignaling compounds due to soil depletion and other factors. So what we've done here at Brilliant and what we do in natural products chemistry is we take the material, we concentrate it down so it's very concentrated, and then we selectively pull compounds out of these materials. This is called extraction, and we can selectively do this. So we've selectively pulled out ellagic acids from pomegranate that can help to maintain the signaling reactions in heart health. So pomegranate, it's been used for a long time. It's a staple of the standard Middle Eastern diet. And this is a really cool fruit that has biosignaling compounds in it. Berberine is a cool molecule that comes from the barberry tree, and it is a master regulator of the biosignaling mechanisms in the body. Berberine regulates signaling pathways related to cognitive health, liver health, cholesterol support, blood glucose support, and it also helps to maintain a healthy inflammatory response in the body. Berberine is a screaming bright yellow color, was traditionally used as a dye, and is super bitter. It's also known as the king of bitters, and it's one of the most bitter tasting ingredients on the earth. Formulating with berberine can be really tough, especially if you're trying to put it in a drink. So I remember thinking of an idea using berberine in a beverage, in a drink formulation for health purposes. I added a small amount of berberine to the drink and tried to flavor it and then took it, and it killed the taste buds on my tongue. It was so bad that I couldn't taste anything for 3 days. Now, this was before the COVID-19 pandemic, so don't worry, I was perfectly healthy, but really bitter, and it's a great signaling compound. Let's talk about green tea. Green tea has been consumed for over 3,000 years, making it the original health functional beverage. Green tea contains a class of molecules called catechins, and these catechins regulate signaling pathways or domino-like pathways in the body related to cognitive health, natural energy, mood, and productivity. So most of the people think that it's caffeine in green tea that's providing the energy. Well, actually, it's a compound called EGCG, a class of catechins that actually regulates the signaling compounds of the mitochondria or the power plants in the cells. So it's really interesting. It's a domino cascade to the mitochondria that then produces the energy rather than the stimulatory effect of caffeine. So EGCG, great molecule with biosignaling properties. A dandelion is really interesting, right? It's a plague here in the United States and other countries. Who would have thought, though, that dandelion actually contains a wide array of biosignaling compounds that, like EGCG above, helps to regulate the signaling pathways related to energy. So pretty interesting. We find biosignaling compounds in nature in some of the most unlikely places. Pomegranate, dandelion. Another really interesting plant that has biosignaling properties is burdock. It's native to Eastern Europe, many parts of Asia. At Brilliant, we found that in this root, it contains some compounds, signaling molecules like one called articin, that help to bring the domino cascades back into alignment related to both immune health and intestinal health. And this is a big deal, right? If we want to maintain immune health and intestinal health, they both relate to the bacteria that's living in the gut. The bacteria living in the gut is called the microbiome. And we've already talked about the microbiome and gut health on this podcast. And as you know, that's a really big deal. Reishi mushroom is another really cool source of biosignaling compounds. It's also nicknamed the mushroom of immortality. It's been used in health tonics in Asia dating back to the Qing dynasty. So reishi contains biosignaling compounds called triterpenes that regulate signaling cascades related to immune health and specifically the immune response. So when you hear news outlets talking about the anti-aging health benefits of drinking a glass of red wine a day, the small natural molecule in grapes responsible for this effect is called resveratrol. Resveratrol not only interacts with signaling mechanisms related to longevity, but it also interacts with biosignaling pathways related to natural energy and increased cognitive function. A really interesting source of biosignaling compounds is the seed of the African mango, African mango seed extract. mango seed extract and compounds in the mango seed have been used on the African continent for over 1,000 years to provide natural energy and promote health of the liver. Further investigation found that molecules in this extract of mango seed, called polyphenols, interact with over 5 different signaling pathways related to fat burning and weight loss. Rhodiola rosea has been used in different cultures for many years. It was a favorite pre-battle tea of the Vikings. Class of compounds in rhodiola called rosavins were found to have an uncanny ability to regulate signaling pathways linked to mood and exercise performance. So we've talked about a lot of molecules in plants that regulate signaling mechanisms, these electrical systems in the body. And we've mentioned some above, but this is not an exhaustive list by any means of biosignaling compounds. So one of the major efforts here at Brilliant is our plant research initiative, where we travel around the world finding medicinal compounds in plants. And one of our big emphasis is finding biosignaling compounds from plants from different parts of the world. Using all this research above, we wondered if we could combine all the biosignaling molecules that we've talked about and more into one unique formulation and product that would basically be the multivitamin of biosignaling that could help to maintain the electrical systems of the body. After 44 attempts, we were able to create a product called Brilliant Connect that actually does this. We showed that it does this by we ran a clinical study on human cell culture cells and found that treatment of these cells with this formulation actually increases the effectiveness of over 60 different biosignaling cascades in the body. Further study on human subjects, where human subjects took Brilliant Connect for 30 days, and we analyzed saliva samples before and after. Interesting note, saliva contains over 400 different biomarkers that are indicative of many different need states. So we analyzed saliva biomarkers before and after taking Connect, and what we found is that Connect significantly decreases signaling pathways related to cognitive decline, decreased energy, stress, and anxiety, these different pathways. So the results of our clinical study were surprising. We actually showed that these compounds in plants can beneficially regulate and maintain these signaling pathways. And because of this surprising result, we were able to file a patent. And this is an amazing product. It uses really cool technology. We're really excited about this. And it represents a blue ocean approach for how we can take care of everyday health. So, and it highlights the need for cutting-edge scientific research to fight back against the plague of lifestyle factors that are degrading health. You know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So as scientists, as explorers, we need to find new ways that get out of this insanity loop and really give a beneficial response in a tangible, scientifically validated way. We've talked about biosignaling. Let's now answer some of your questions. So a question we're often asked is regarding CoQ10. CoQ10 is the third best-selling supplement in the world. And people ask us, how do I know what CoQ10 supplement is the best? Well, one of the ways to know is you need to look for the form of CoQ10. CoQ10 isn't one molecule. It's actually 2 different forms of a molecule that go back and forth. One form of CoQ10 is ubiquinone, and the other one is ubiquinol. And you want to look for the ubiquinol form. It's more active, it goes directly into the mitochondria and increases energy production and many different benefits of CoQ10, which we'll talk about in a future podcast. Ubiquinone is not as good because it has to go through these different cascade transformations in order to become ubiquinol. So look for a formula containing ubiquinol. So another question is, as an athlete, how can I choose supplements I know that I won't fail a drug test by using these? That's a big deal. Athletes need to do supplementation in order to make sure that the molecular machine of the body is supercharged. Now, there's different organizations that have taken upon themselves to make sure that supplements are devoid of compounds that would have someone fail a drug test. One of the best organizations is called Informed Choice. And with Informed Choice, in order to get this certification, you have to send your product to them from 5 different lots. They analyze the product meticulously to see if there are any of these doping traces of doping compounds in the supplement. And if it's clean, they give you documentation and they allow you to put the logo Informed Choice on the product. And you're able to go to the Informed Choice website and see what supplements have been verified. So that's a really good avenue for athletes to check out. So it's been great talking with you all today. If you'd like to check out supplements like this one that we mentioned in this episode, check out our solutions at feelbrilliant.com. Thanks for listening, my friends. Take care. This is Dr. Dan, signing off.